Hi, clowns. Welcome to Crimenelia Street. I'm Tori.
I'm Sam, and
And
we're gathered.
Wow. Usually there's like this silence where neither of us knows who's going to say it. This time we both just hopped.
It's
But
all
we're
good.
gathered here today
Yeah.
on this day.
On this day in December, it's the weird limbo period between Christmas and New Year's, so you're just kind of like, what is life?
Am I expected to work? And the answer is yes. Yep.
Thankfully, I'm still on school break. It starts up again next Monday, so got a little bit longer to go. So, how was your Christmas?
It was really good. It was low key. We just had like immediate family this time. Usually we'll have like, some stragglers that we've invited because they might not have somewhere else to go or something. And that's always nice too. But it was just nice that it was like just the close family this time. It was, really comfortable. No awkward, hi, who are you?
Right. You can just enjoy the day.
Yep. And I had the kiddo. So yeah, it was super nice.
Yeah, that's great.
How about you guys?
It was really nice. We had Austin's, my boyfriend's brother come and stay with us for a few days.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's in the Coast Guard, so we got some time off from that. And my boyfriend loves to cook. He loves to make like food. But literally my most favorite bite of anything he's ever made was this prime rib. It was oh my god, it was delicious.
We had prime rib too, dude, and it was as well. It's so freaking good.
Oh,
I love that hunk of meat.
the same. I feel like I'm gonna forever be dreaming about that first, like all of it was good, but it's just that first bite. It's like, oh my god. It's like practically a spiritual experience.
We like cut up the ribs too. I don't know if all prime ribs are like this. I'm not a prime rib expert, but like it had some ribs in there.
Yeah.
We like cut the ribs up, and I got one of the ribs, and oh my god, that was so good.
Good eatings. Yeah, we had a
So
couple of the
good.
ribs too. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Did you have like au jus or horseradish sauce or anything with it?
They did both, yeah. And the rib I had just as it was, and it was
For
just
sure.
seasoned so freaking good. And then we did have some like au jus and horseradish when we like sat down and ate the other parts of it.
The actual,
The hunk.
yeah, the big old hunk.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a horseradish girly, so I want it to burn. Like,
Yes. It's
it,
such a
like,
good burn.
it is, and it clears you out, like, of your, like, sinuses and all that. So, good times, but
I put too much on my first bite too, for sure, and I was like, oh, that's
I'm
good.
awake.
That's good. Yeah. Feel the burn.
right. But yeah, I'm looking forward to 2025. Lots of stuff to look forward to, so
Yay.
yay!
Yeah. It's going to be exciting.
Yep, and hopefully we'll get like a rep TV or a debut TV,
Or
like
both.
or both. Like, can you? Okay, now that the Eras tour is over, can you imagine
so.
if I know? What? If we had gotten both or one, I mean, if we had gotten Debutation, for example, then, like, of course, we would still look forward to any new music she puts out, but we wouldn't have that to look forward to, so,
It's definitely a nice way to paint it.
Yeah.
Because I think I
Right.
would be okay if we had gotten it.
I
would've
know, I'm just... We were so hopeful, like, we were, like, go back to last summer, we thought we were going to get Rep
my
TV.
God.
It's just like, we were so delusional. No, just kidding.
But no, honestly.
But no, I guess not. It's fine. When you can't cry, you gotta laugh. Because this is fine.
It's also fine. We'll just keep podcasting about it.
Because that's what we do. We podcast about things. But okay, so I'm gonna get into the story. It's a little bit of a different one.
Okay.
Like a different kind of change of pace.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, so this is the story of Anneliese Michel.
Okay, I love that
and
name.
I know, it's really beautiful. A bit of a sad story, though, because she is the inspiration for the movie The Exorcism of Emily Rose.
Okay.
And what I think is interesting about this case is there is some, like, there was a whole trial involved in this situation at the end. She was born in Liebelfing, Germany on September 21st, 1952. She was born into a very devout Catholic family. They were very by the book. She was definitely known for being quite religious. She attended Mass twice a week with her family, which included her parents, Joseph and Anna, and her 3 older sisters. And she was said to be exceptionally bright. She wanted to become a school teacher, and she was just a normal, well-adjusted, cheerful kind of gal. Her life changed forever when she experienced her first kind of medical episode in the fall of 1968 around her 16th birthday. She was sitting in class when she passed out suddenly at her desk, and she just thought that she was really tired and blamed it on not getting enough sleep. The following evening, she woke up after midnight and felt a lot of pressure on her abdomen, like someone was sitting on her chest. And she found herself involuntarily urinating the bed. She said it seemed like someone was like squeezing her bladder.
Oh my God.
And like forcing urine out of her.
Whoa, just like wringing her like a towel.
Right. So scary. Ooh. And she was also unable to call out for help. But she was definitely awake at this time, and she couldn't scream or anything.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she said that the episode lasted for about 15 minutes. And then she told her mother about it the next morning, and they just kind of both came to the conclusion. Morning. I know. Oh.
What a brave soul.
I know. Yeah, the next morning, and they just both came to the conclusion that she was getting sick. Which,
yeah.
I'm not laughing at it. It's just like, me, I'd be like, oh no, I'm going to the doctor.
For sure. Like night 1, urinating the bed because of pressure on your abdomen. Night 2, runny nose.
Right. Logical steps here.
Right. I mean, that is the line of symptoms.
Right. I mean, I guess this is in the late 60s, so maybe things were different then, but who knows?
I feel like they should be familiar with what a cold feels like coming on.
Right. But a year went by without any further incidents until August 24th, 1969, when she again blacked out during the day and had another kind of conscious paralysis at nighttime. This time, her parents took her to their family physician, Dr. Vogt.
That's good.
Who later, check.
Good call.
Who later referred her to a neurologist, Dr. Luthi.
Okay.
He performed some tests, including, I might have to say this word once or twice, an electroencephalogram, or an EEG, which is where they put the little nodes on your head to measure your brain activity. So they performed this test on August the 27th, which showed normal physiological alpha-type brain activity.
Okay.
But given the situation, he said it was very similar to the symptoms of grand mal epilepsy, and said that she needed to be observed more. So at least like she's seeing a brain doctor.
Yes. And what was that epilepsy?
They said it was grand mal epilepsy.
Is that different than regular epilepsy?
That's a good question.
Also known as generalized tonic-clonic seizure. It's a type of seizure that affects the entire brain. It is characterized by sudden, violent muscle contractions and loss of consciousness. So it's different. Okay.
So shortly after seeing the neurologist, she started school again in September, and she actually caught pneumonia and tuberculosis and was hospitalized.
Jeez. Poor
this
girl
can't catch a break. And she was then transferred to a children's sanatorium for lung disease, and she was kept there for months just due to lingering health issues.
A sanatorium? What is sanatorium?
Sanatorium, it seems like it was an isolated kind of place for sick people.
A medical facility that treats long-term illnesses and convalescents. Okay, so it's just like a hospital for like people with long-term issues. It sounds okay.
Right. For
It sounded to
long-term
me
care.
like to deal with someone's sanity. So I'm like, is she like in a psych ward? Okay.
Right. Wow. That.
Foreshadowing.
Right. Do. So, yeah, she was kept there for months. This is now June the 3rd, 1970. So the following June, she
Wow.
had a third seizure with the same stiffness and abdominal pressure and involuntary urination, and was unable to cry out for help again. After some time had passed, she was able to cry out for help and screamed. So now the doctors are like, okay, what's going on? A few days later, some other patients saw Anneliese praying with her rosary and noted that her hands were contorted in a weird way. Her fingers were curled in towards her palms, and her pupils were dilated to the point where they were nearly black.
Wow.
Like her whole eye was black. When this was later brought up to her, Anneliese seemed to have no recollection of this, but when she looked in the mirror, she did notice that her eyes were very dilated. So on June the 16th, she was examined by another neurologist named Dr. Von Haller, who did another EEG and noticed some irregular patterns in her brain waves, but was unable to induce any seizure-like activity through stimulation of her brain. He did, however, recommend Anneliese to be put on anticonvulsant medication.
That's good.
Now she's got some meds. A week after, while she was praying with her rosary, Anneliese said that she suddenly saw a huge grimacing face for a brief moment. And it scared her so badly. From that moment on, she was afraid of praying with her rosary because she was afraid it would cause the face to return again. And this just absolutely terrified her, and she was afraid to mention this to any of the doctors, which it's like, that would probably be important, but I guess I can kind of understand, especially, at that time.
Right.
You don't want to get locked away.
Right. You don't want to go to the sanatorium.
Right. Okay, so she was finally dismissed from the hospital, or the sanatorium, on August the 29th. So she spent almost a whole year in there.
That's crazy. At
yeah.
that age, too. Like 7, I think, at this point. Like,
Yep.
wow.
So the sanatorium recommended a follow-up appointment a month after her discharge, which was scheduled for October the 6th. Unfortunately, by the time that appointment came around, she had already experienced another seizure. And also, unfortunately, her symptoms were pretty much being dismissed by her physicians, and they just tried to give her different anticonvulsant medications. So no one was really like taking her seriously, which I can imagine would be so scary and frustrating.
Yeah.
So over the next few years, from 1971 to 72, Anneliese was often absent from school just due to illness and feeling extremely fatigued and just like apathetic, which was very unlike her. She was seizure-free until June the 5th, 1972, where she had her most severe seizure yet. Her parents were becoming increasingly concerned and took her to see the neurologist, Dr. Luthi, again before the school year started. They tried a new anticonvulsant and said she had one minor seizure on November the 8th, but then no further incidents for the rest of the year and going into 1973.
Okay.
So it's like kind of sporadic here and there, but nothing like she's still herself.
I wonder if it's like mental health meds too, where you have to like see which ones work for you.
Right. I mean, it's a shame that she didn't have access to that kind of care.
Well, they were like changing them on her, right?
Right. Yeah, the anticonvulsants and stuff.
Oh,
yeah.
you mean to mental health care?
Right.
Yeah. I do. Yeah. It's because it does seem like there might be something going on mental health wise as well.
Yeah, with being like really apathetic, which was very out of character for her. She was very driven, they said.
And
so
seeing faces.
and seeing faces. So the new anti-seizure medication seemed to be working. It was called Dilantin. However, she began to feel a stiffness in her body, causing her to make twisting motions that weren't in her control. And she smelled this rotten stench that only she could smell it. She said it smelled like feces or something burning feces.
Awful.
I know. And the terrifying faces in her vision were becoming more frequent.
Shoot.
Yeah.
Were these side effects, like, expected with this medication?
The only side effect that was known with Dilantin was called it's dystonia, which is the involuntary muscle contractions that cause twisting or, like, abnormal posture. But the medication was not known to cause any, like, visual or olfactory hallucinations.
Right.
So
Nice word,
weird.
by the way, olfactory.
Yeah, right? Olfactory. So in the spring of 1973, Anneliese began to hear a knocking sound in her room, which soon, I know, soon her mother and sisters started to hear as well. They described it as a thumping. I know. They described it as a thumping sound in the wardrobe in her room, and then it would move to the ceiling and then below the floor. And now these demonic faces were popping up in her vision even more frequently, which she said had horns, and they were telling her that she would be damned for all eternity.
That's heavy.
Right.
That's a little heavy.
And this is like a good Catholic girl, you know, she probably hasn't done anything wrong, so
she's just trying to pray with her rosary.
Jesus
Leave
Christ.
her alone.
Right. So now her mother is like, okay, is there something like supernatural going on? I don't know. Demonic possession wasn't really in their radar yet, but
we don't like those thumpings.
Right, those thumps. No, thank you.
Could it be like a mouse in the wall?
It could be. There's a logical explanation for most things, but
so they say.
Who knows, right? So her mom was like, okay, something's weird. Her father was still very he was very dismissive about the whole idea. Because he himself had never heard any knocking. It was only the women. So he's like, oh, you guys are just hysterical. You must just be on your period.
Of course, yeah, yep.
He did start to get disturbed, however, when his wife told him that Anneliese was staring at a statue that they had of the Virgin Mary with this really malicious expression on her face, and her eyes were dilated again, and her hands were contorted inwards again. So it's
that would be a little disturbing. Yeah.
Right. So Anneliese herself, she didn't think that anything was happening with demons. She just thought that she was going kind of crazy and that something was wrong with her brain. However, her mother, as I mentioned, began to speculate that she was being attacked by demons and started to voice these suspicions to Anneliese and her father. And this really made Anneliese scared because she was very pious her whole life. She did everything right. She was trying to be a good student. So despite all of this going on, she was able to graduate and was encouraged to go on this trip organized by their church to a shrine that was a few hours away just to kind of lift her spirit. So once she was there, she was physically unable to enter the shrine. She said that the ground felt like fire beneath her feet, and she could not look at a picture of Jesus Christ. It was blinding her. She couldn't even look up. And she said that the nuns that were there praying seemed to be looking at her and gnashing their teeth at her. In her own words, she said that she felt a dread that makes you think that you are right there in the middle of hell. You are totally, utterly deserted. You can call all you want for help to the Mother of God, maybe, but they are all dead.
Oof.
I know.
That's what a lonely feeling that has to be, too.
I know, especially if religion has been
the
most important aspect of your life, and now it's being ripped away from you.
Jeez, yeah.
So, since the trip was organized by our church, there were several nuns accompanying the young adults. One of them was named Frau Hein. and Anneliese began to speak to her in this really deep voice and was behaving like oddly aggressive towards her. And Frau Heinz said she also smelled really bad, like feces that was burning, and everyone around her began to smell it as well. So this girl was like smelling up the whole area.
And like emanating this smell now.
Right.
Huh.
On September 3rd, Anneliese visited Dr. Luthi again and finally told him about the demonic faces she had been seeing. And she said that she now believed that the devil was inside of her and that a judgment of fire would come down on everyone. So he prescribed her a drug that was used for neurosis in children and pretty much largely dismissed her symptoms.
Neurosis. An outdated term to describe... Oh, outdated. I like that little clarification. To describe a group of mental disorders characterized by anxiety, irrational fears, and obsessive thoughts.
After this, like, he pretty much said that she was lying about seeing these faces and hearing these voices and things.
She's saying, girl, you crazy. Or he's saying.
Yeah. So after this, she never saw him again, and she never confided in another doctor about the demonic visions.
She probably felt hopeless, yeah.
Right. So, since the prescriptions were not helping her visions go away, the family decided to take her to a priest to see what they thought about Anneliese. By now, she was 21 years old, and after several visits with various priests, they all found her to be like a normally functioning young woman. They did finally get into contact with a priest named Father Alt, who had a interest in the paranormal. He was kind of, he seemed to just take the demonic visions more seriously, I guess. He believed that he was telepathic and had visions. There was a psychiatric evaluation done on him later on during the investigation for this trial, which suggested that he was actually schizophrenic himself and would experience psychosis kind of frequently.
I was going to say this is giving neurosis.
Right, actual. After receiving letters from the family, he claimed that he was able to tap into what Anneliese was seeing, and he even held a mass for people to pray for Anneliese before he went to go meet her. And he said that while he was preparing for it by praying, he had a strange sensation, and this is a quote from him. He said, "All of a sudden something hit me in the back, the air turned cold, and at the same time there was an intense stench as though something were burning. I had to lean against the altar." That night, he was unable to sleep and smelled different stenches and was hearing thumping sounds.
It's the thumping for me. Like, it's where I draw the line. No thumping.
No thumping, please. Thanks. So then he went on to visit the family. He said his first impressions were that she looked in no way ill or sickly, but she was pale and very serious. So despite all of this, Anneliese attended university in the fall of 1973 and continued to take her medications. Although the seizures had stopped, she continued to see the hideous faces and found herself very depressed and homesick. In November, she did meet another student named Peter, and they fell in love. So that's nice. Yeah. Peter seems like a good dude.
Okay, Peter. Okay.
Yeah. On November 27th, she saw a doctor named Dr. Lenner, who is a Freudian psychiatrist. She reported that she felt just listless and drained as soon as she awoke each morning and had difficulty concentrating. She said, this is one of her quotes, "I have no willpower. I simply float around and don't know what I want."
Oh my gosh, that is so heartbreaking.
I know. And Dr. Leonard, since he's like a Freudian dude, he said that Anneliese had neurosis stemming from her father's failure to understand her and her deep-seated hatred of her mother, who forbade her from having boyfriends. It's like, whoa.
Wow. Yeah.
That's deep. They changed her prescription to a stronger anticonvulsant, which was called Tegretterol, in hopes of suppressing the other epileptic symptoms. So in follow-up visits to these doctors in December, Anneliese claimed that she was feeling much better with her new medication. She was able to enjoy tennis and play the piano. but she still found herself having difficulty being social and communicating with other people. And then in January, at her medical visits, she reported that she had started to get these really bad headaches that would not go away, like they would last for days at a time. Poor girl.
I know. I wonder, it's crazy like how many different things can contribute to headaches too. Like it literally could just be the pillow she's using now. Or
Right.
something like that, you know?
None of the medications or therapies she received had any effect on the terrifying faces that she was claiming to see. Father Alt, he was pushing to ask for an exorcism because I guess an exorcism is a big deal in the Catholic Church. You have to get permission and all that. Whenever she visited him with her father, she seemed deeply depressed and had trouble controlling her muscles. The bishop of the church, even after he was giving her these blessings and it seemed to help her improve, the bishop was denying the exorcism. He was saying like, no, you can't do this, pretty much.
Okay.
It's all very strange. So during the fall semester, Anneliese, since she was kind of starting to feel better, she threw herself deeper into her faith and religious practices, which meant she wasn't really hanging out with her classmates as much.
Peter.
Oh, no, Peter's still there.
Yay.
She stopped seeing those two doctors that were kind of like monitoring her, like Dr. Leonard, the Freudian guy, and then Dr. Schleip. Anneliese, despite all this, managed to keep up with her university studies and even got her driver's license.
Wow.
Just a little terrifying.
Yeah.
And her focus on religion seemed to help her reclaim some control over her life, and it wasn't long before she just started to feel social again. And
Good.
you know,
okay.
things took a dark turn for Anneliese not long after. Her depression got so bad that she couldn't focus on her studies or work on her thesis, and she started to think about dropping out of school entirely. She pulled away from her classmates and became so exhausted that she couldn't even get out of bed to eat, which caused her to lose a lot of weight. In a rare moment of clarity, Anneliese later described feeling a bizarre, cold sense of pride, quickly followed by overwhelming terror and the belief that she was doomed to eternal damnation. And she knew deep down there was no logical reason for this, but a voice in her head kept insisting it, and she just felt powerless.
Whoa. Man.
And then, much like what happened at the trip to the shrine after graduation, she developed a strong aversion to anything sacred or religious. Her friends' prayers, even when they were silent, became unbearable for her. She started throwing religious items at people.
Oh my God.
Yeah, like a rosary or a bottle of holy water. And she could not bring herself to step foot inside a church, so she just stopped going. Her physical condition worsened as well. Her legs were becoming stiff so much that she couldn't even bend her knees at times, and she had to grab onto furniture to move around, so she was like dragging herself around everywhere.
Wow.
And on top of all of this, her face would sometimes twist into these like terrifying expressions, which scared everyone around her.
Which could be the medication still, right? All
Right,
of that.
exactly. The dystonia and all that. So Father Alt visited Anneliese on July the 1st. She kept telling him over and over that she was damned for eternity. His attempts to pray the Hail Mary only made things worse. She broke down into a screaming fit, sobbing uncontrollably. She finally calmed down, and he's like, "Are you on your meds?" And she's like, "Yes, I'm still on my meds." During this like priestly blessing, Anneliese sat quietly, but Father Alt said he felt an eerie coldness radiating from her. He silently prayed. It's called the exorcismus probativus.
Okay.
A test prayer for the exorcism, I guess it's called. The moment he did, Anneliese suddenly leapt to her feet as if to defend herself, screaming and tearing apart her rosary. Her voice then changed, sounding strange and like really deep. And she abruptly told her boyfriend, "Peter, get out."
Peter, not Peter.
I know.
That's so freaky.
I know. This girl is still in school.
Wow.
And over summer break, her parents are trying to like convince her, like, maybe you should pause your studies for a while. But she's like, no, I don't want to. But she does go home for the summer. So she was able to eat again, but her legs were still stiff over the summer. She walked very awkwardly, like she was on stilts. She couldn't pray at all and frequently had violent screaming fits. Since Father Alt wasn't nearby, because I guess he was closer to her school, the Michels, her parents, reached out to another priest named Father Roth. And interestingly enough, after her dad spoke to Father Roth on the phone, Anneliese suddenly said, "Roth, that dog, he's coming too," even though no one had told her that he was coming to see them. So when Father Roth arrived, Joseph, her father, showed him the living room where Anneliese had just been, and Roth immediately noticed a horrible smell, which he described as a mix of burning and feces.
This is a theme.
I know. Her father, who had been skeptical of earlier claims about like demonic possession and all that, was now more convinced as he was now smelling these smells. So when Anneliese saw Father Roth, she screamed at him and tore up her rosary. She became visibly upset when he reached for the crucifix in his pocket, and at this point they're like, okay, this girl's possessed.
Oh, wow.
Now they're like,
okay.
She's officially possessed.
And Dad's on board too.
Yep, they're all on board. On July the 30th of that year, obviously, Peter visited Anneliese at her home. They went for a walk, even though she was like still really stiff-legged, but she seemed very cheerful to get out of the house with Peter. Peter said that she just seemed like back to her normal self for a moment. The next day, since school was starting up again, both her and Peter returned to the town where they were going to school. And while grocery shopping, her face and legs tensed up, and he took her back to her dorm, and she stood stiffly in front of a crucifix, glaring at it with what Peter described as pure hatred. He later recounted that her face twisted in a terrifying way, and she growled like an animal, and her teeth were clenching so loudly he was worried that they might break.
That's gotta be kind of scary to be there for. Again, I feel like it could all be muscular stuff from this medication still.
Right.
Like,
and
growling could be your vocal cords doing some weird muscular stuff. The teeth clenching can be muscular.
yeah. So she stood this way for about an hour, just frozen in place, twisting her upper body like away from the crucifix. Later, she was recalling what was happening, and she explained that she wanted to take the cross in her hand, but it was like something was pushing her back and she couldn't reach it. After this little episode, Peter took her back home to her parents, where her condition just continued to spiral. Her parents directly petitioned the bishop for an exorcism. Father Alt finally got permission to perform like a shortened version of the exorcism. On August the 3rd, Father Alt performed the ritual while the other priest, Father Roth, observed. Anneliese whimpered and moaned throughout, pleading to stop. It's burning. And she was pointing to her back and her arms. And at one point, she did say, "I am free," as if she was relieved from like demonic influence.
Okay.
So even though the exorcism seemed to help for a little bit, for a day or two, Anneliese's behavior became more and more disturbing as August went on. She developed severe insomnia, only sleeping for an hour or two each night. She began racing through the home, bounding up and down the stairs like an animal.
Whoa.
And obsessively kneeling and standing so rapidly that her knees became swollen.
Whoa.
She screamed constantly, and then she would freeze in place for like days at a time.
Oh my goodness.
Right. And like her sisters would just try to like feed and care for her the best that they could at this time. So after the exorcism, her behavior grew more extreme. She also would display nearly superhuman strength, tearing off her clothes because she felt her body was burning, and would kneel and rise at unnatural speed. She put insects in her mouth, urinated and defecated on the floor, and would like lick it and eat it up. She would attack her family, and she would just try to destroy all the religious objects around the home.
Whoa. Why would they not put her in some kind of mental institution?
That's what I'm saying. Like, this seems like neglect to me, honestly. And it makes you kind of angry because it's like those, there was like a case a few years ago where these parents didn't get their infant like medical help because they were just praying for the kid instead of taking the kid to the doctor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they were like, it ended up with the child unfortunately dying. It's very frustrating. So Anneliese also claimed to see clouds of flies and shadowy creatures, which her family eventually said that they could also see. She had visions of dead people and developed stigmata like wounds. It's like she could just be doing that to herself, you know?
Right. And who's reporting on this too? Because I'm not super trusting the family at this point.
Exactly. The local parish, like the priests and everything, they were highly suggesting, they're like, okay, she needs to like go to the hospital. Like, this is crazy. But
yeah,
the family had just grown tired of all the different psychiatric treatments, I guess.
Oh, we're too sleepy for that.
And I guess now that she's 22 years old, Anneliese just refused to go to the clinic at all.
But she's not in her right state of mind. Like, oh my gosh.
I know. It's so frustrating. So instead of taking her to the doctor, they reached out to a different priest. So we got lots of priests in here. Father Roderick, who was in Frankfurt. So after writing several letters, he finally came to meet her in person. He says that when he arrived, he found Anneliese lying on the floor in what looked like a hypnotic trance, just completely unresponsive to the people around her. Her parents helped her to the sofa, and the priest asked her, "What is your name?" And in a deeper, distorted voice, she replied, "Judas." And then eventually her muscles relaxed, and then she returned to her normal speaking voice. And just an interesting little side note, the name Judas seemed odd at first, because Judas isn't like an actual demon. He's just the disciple that betrayed Jesus.
Yeah.
So now there was another exorcism that was approved for September the 16th, 1975. The task was assigned to a Father Renz, a well-respected and compassionate priest from a nearby monastery. He was said to be very calm, and before the exorcism, he earned Anneliese's trust during her more lucid moments. So when he visited the home for the first time on September 24th, 1975, he noted that Anneliese seemed completely normal that day with no obvious signs of possession. However, since the family and the other priests had requested it, and Anneliese herself requested it in a lucid state, he performed the full exorcism right. So she was like not in like a trance. She was just like her normal self at this time. The process began with a set sequence of prayers, followed by questioning of the supposed demons, and ending with commands for them to leave. He said that at first, Anneliese remained calm, but soon her body shook violently, and she screamed and was writhing around. And 3 men had to hold her down to stop her from biting or kicking the other people in the room. Whenever the holy water was sprinkled on her, she let out blood-curdling screams and shouted profanities, demanding that the priest would stop. The exorcism lasted 5.5 hours, and afterwards, lucid Anneliese told them that she could have kept going because she could sense that the exorcism was disturbing the demons. She clearly remembered everything that happened, but insisted that her actions and words during the ritual weren't her own.
Okay.
So Father Renz believed that this experience was undeniable proof of a demonic possession. He couldn't understand how else to explain the distinct personality within Anneliese that spoke and reacted violently to the sacred rituals and just radiated hostility. By early October 1975, 2 weeks into the exorcism, so they're doing like multiple exorcisms to this girl.
Oh, whoa.
The demonic personalities began to weaken, and then she started to react less aggressively. So they're like, "Oh, it's working." Anneliese rarely showed signs of possession outside her family's home, so most people at her school didn't know what was going on. So she was like, she went back to school even. In January, during a rare...
That's crazy.
I know.
That's crazy.
In January, during a rare outburst outside of her home, her face twisted and she struck her boyfriend Peter.
Oh.
I know, she hit Peter. By February, Anneliese started experiencing compulsions, like not being able to eat or cover herself from the cold. She felt abandoned in her prayers and suffered physically and emotionally, even she heard a voice telling her strange things, like to always wear the same shoes. In March of that year, she had an episode of stiffness while trying to visit home, and so this is where she never returns to school after this. During the Holy Week in mid-April, before Easter, Anneliese had intense spiritual experiences. On April 13th, she felt compelled to kneel in her local chapel all night. On Holy Thursday, she felt a crushing weight and believed she was experiencing Jesus' suffering. On Good Friday, she stood frozen for hours after church and later became rigid again when people tried to help her move. And by the end of April, she was refusing food again.
Wow.
On May the 20th, she had a brief lucid moment, but most of the time she couldn't hold a normal conversation. And by June the 8th, Anneliese looked frail and malnourished with a sunken face. Around June the 18th, she started saying that everything would end by July, and she begged her family not to call a doctor. And Peter was still there visiting her, by the way.
Peter. Wow.
She was afraid that she'd be sent to a state mental institution, which she believed wasn't right for her. But she's like, don't worry, this is all going to be done by July. Don't worry.
More reason to worry.
Right. On June the 27th, she developed a fever. Her parents treated it with cold compresses. They avoided calling a doctor. On June 30th, during her final exorcism, she had a fever of 102 degrees Fahrenheit. Her last words to Father Renz were, "Please, absolution." And he granted her request. I guess it was like a last rite type of thing. After he performed the absolution, her dad, who was still in the room, told the demons to leave because it was now July and they had to go. And after that, Anneliese calmed down and turned over onto her side and went to sleep. And then the next morning, on July the 1st, her father checked on her around 7 a.m. and thought she was asleep before he left for work. An hour later, her mother found her, and Anneliese had passed away. And she weighed only 68 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So after she passed away, her death sparked a huge media frenzy. It's also interesting to note that the film The Exorcist was released in 1973, and this is 1976. So,
right.
Just something interesting.
For sure.
Yeah, her death sparked a huge media frenzy. Her parents and the two priests who performed the exorcisms were eventually charged with negligent homicide, as her death was ultimately caused by severe malnutrition and dehydration. And they did not seek medical help when it was clear that she needed it. And the investigation for the trial, her family and the priest truly believed she was possessed, and that the exorcisms were the only way to save her. She underwent a total of 67 exorcism rites between 1975 and 1976.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That's so many.
The trial did take place in 1978. The prosecution argued that the priest and the Michel family were responsible for her death because they didn't get her proper medical treatment, opting instead for exorcisms, and the defense claimed that Anneliese's possession was real and the exorcisms were necessary in their eyes.
That's wild.
Right. They were both charged. However, their sentences were pretty light. The priest got 6 years in prison, but only served 2.5 years. Her parents were sentenced to 3 years, but they only served 2 years. So,
wow.
It brings up the question, you never hear of non-religious people being possessed. And It's religion, it's a well-worn groove in your brain, so your mental symptoms can be manifested by all these religious problems because that's what your brain knows, you know what I mean? I don't know. It's just also
And then
messed
like
up.
the whole shared hysteria of it all as well. Like it's giving Salem witch trials a bit. And it does seem like when they were all smelling the same smells or hearing the thumping, it's like, was that shared hysteria at that point? Did they all need to go to mental institution?
Maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's just so sad.
it is very sad. 68 pounds.
I know, dude. Oh my God.
And like, imagine like your mental health isn't that great, and you start hearing that you're possessed. And
That's what really upset me is that her mom was like putting that idea out there. And it didn't seem like she thought that until after that, and then was kind of clung on to it. Obviously had some kind of mental health issues anyways, so it felt like that kind of became a delusion for her. I don't know if that's the right word, but
right, and it just manifested itself because the power of suggestion is crazy. You know, like once you implant that idea in someone's head and that's all you know, like your whole life pretty much is like religion. Gosh, yeah,
and 3 years after the movie came out too.
Yeah. But yeah, so a bit of a different one. Sad. Very sad, but now I've never seen the exorcism of Emily Rose. I've seen like clips. Apparently it's terrifying.
Kind of want to watch it now.
Yeah, I might watch it. But yeah, so that's the story.
That was interesting. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time for sure.
I'm pretty skeptical about things like supernatural things. They're fun to learn about, but there can always be an explanation. You know, so.
Yeah, and it's with the medication she was on too. I just think it's crazy that like a lot of that stuff could have been explained by like the weird muscle contortions and whatnot. So yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. But do we have any like Taylor news?
Any happy stuff?
Right.
It's been so quiet in the Taylor world. People were criticizing her Chiefs outfit, that like big long red jacket and the black hat.
The bucket hat.
Hate it. Yeah.
I thought it was cute. Yeah, like
Yeah.
it looks like one of those robes, like her jacket, like the fluffy robes that like the lady rushes down the stairs in her mansion,
Right.
you know, and it's all flowing.
Yeah.
I don't know what
didn't
they're
hate
called.
it.
I thought
Some
it was
people
cute.
did, I guess.
Whatever.
Haters gonna hate.
Right. Sometimes she does like her outfits. I'm like, that's an interesting choice.
Right.
But
Which is like any celebrity too, I feel like. Just because they're
Right.
supposed to like kind of set the trends and like push the boundaries, and it's like, do we need to push it that far?
right, for sure.
So that's all for today, clowns. Follow us on TikTok at Crimenelia St podcast. Follow us on Instagram at Crimenelia Street, or send us an email. Let us know what cases you want to hear at crimeneliast@gmail.com. Bye, clowns.
Bye, clowns.